Welcome to another episode of Knives Monroe versus the podcast. I am your host, Knives Monroe. How you guys doing? Hopefully, you're doing well. This is an Indie Darlings podcast. I'll get into that later, but first I wanted to introduce Claire, my wife. Claire, how you doing?
I'm good. I thought this was an Indie Darlings podcast.
I know. So the network is Knives Monroe versus the podcast. That's the RSS feed. That's where you can find it on Spotify, SoundCloud, wherever you listen to your podcasts. But I'm going to name and compartmentalize our podcasts under very different, whatever the programming is going to be. And this is an Indie Darlings episode. So that's how this is going to work. It doesn't make sense to have 5 different networks, 5 different RSS feeds. I'm paying for one and I'm sticking with it. That way you get a variety on this if you subscribe, but also for everybody that's already subscribed, they get something. So how you doing?
I'm good. Very busy.
Very busy. I was going to say real fast for those that are watching on YouTube, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to the Indie Darlings YouTube. I love this composition. It's very simple. I don't have much to edit, and I get to look at what I'm looking at. I had asked you earlier, and you were like, I don't want to hear about this 2-shot shit.
Oh, I don't know what that means.
Do you want your own camera angle? And we can kind of do it traditional style. And I like this, man. I mean, the audio is going directly into the camera, and just the nerd in me is like simplification. So I love it.
It's hard not to look at myself.
I can turn that around, but I prefer to see it.
Okay.
What she's talking about, if you're not watching on YouTube, is there's a monitor right in front of us. So, but yeah, I'm really happy to be doing this. For the listeners, this is a Wednesday, and maybe we're supposed to be working now.
We are working.
I mean, we are working. I am.
I'm working too.
I know I am. But so, real fast, I just kind of wanted to set the table for this episode. I get all the time, like, what is Indie Darlings? And, so let's talk about it and kind of get into more detail, because it's certainly evolved. It started off as an idea, and now it's a business, and we've generated income, and we can talk about all that if you want. But I wanted to get your perspective first and foremost. What is Indie Darlings? If somebody were to ask you, what would you say to that?
I'd say it's 2 things. It's services, but we also have a shop where we sell some of my art, some handmade items, some stickers, some notebooks. That I do all that, and then the services part you do, which is video, podcasts, and photos. So I feel like it's a collab of 2 things. Both are pretty important, I think. Both are going well. It's going well. We just incorporated a blog into our website, so check that out. So kind of just experimenting with the blog, but also mostly like the stuff in the shop is really related to writers and to artists and to creatives, to people who do podcasts. So kind of that's where the journals come in and the stickers come in and the loteria cards that I did.
Yeah, it's funny. You answered it better than I did. So it's product and services. You answered it better than me. Because when people ask me, I'm like, it's a state of mind, man. Like, I have to, like, explain to them what an indie darling even is. And they're just like, they've lost interest, Like, you're supposed to have a 30-second pitch with people, essentially. And I'm not really good at explaining it. But, yeah, product and services, So indiedarlings.net, you can find... you can reach out to us, contact us for, if you want us to produce your podcast, make some videos, and take your photos as well. Those are my specialties. That's what I do. And then there's the product side, the shop side, which you integrated, and I would have never done it. I don't have it in me. I was really burned out, I'll say, by what I did with Dakota Meyer. On the flip side, Canvas on the Dash side, like, I understand Shopify, I understand e-com, I understand product photography and all these little things, and I really felt like, well, we have to accumulate an audience first before we say, hey, buy our hats, buy our sweatshirts or whatever. But the truth is, when something pops, a piece of our content pops, and they check us out, it's all going to be there already. Right. And I guess I didn't really have the vision to appreciate that. And over the last year and a half, you've built that out, and people have bought it already, and it's really cool. It's really exciting. And that's not just what you bring to the table, but also the design elements. You know, when it comes to designing our logos, shirts, putting everything together. I mean, that I couldn't do. I just don't have the attention span and the discipline for it. So I'm really glad that you put that together. And if you want to see the amount of labor and work that Claire has put into the website, you have to visit indiedarlings.net to check it out. I mean, she did it all by herself without any help from me.
True. That's very true.
It's truly incredible. Like it really is. I don't have it in me to do that. You know, I was telling Albert from Blended Sense, president and one of the co-founders, who just purchased some stickers for us for Blended Sense from us. And, you know, I tell him I'm content and Clara's product, you know, so he was like, oh, you did such a great job. And I'm like, she did. She's the one that did it. Like, that's her, you know? And so you got to speak into the mic. That's not me. That's not me, you know? So I really think that's cool. But I do want to talk about, you mentioned the blog, also your brainchild, and it's been generating, we've gotten an uptick on our site. You know, we can see the numbers and who's visiting and everything. The blog was your brainchild, and tell me how that started and why it's important to you.
Yeah, I feel like there was a missing element to our website and to us, and I wanted to have something consistent. So I thought, well, we should have a blog, you know, and I've asked a couple people if they wanted to write for us, and they did. And it's up there, and I really needed it to be just kind of to center around the things that we like and the things that we do. So it's mostly about TV shows, film, art, book reviews in there, writing as a creative. And I just thought, I felt like it was just a missing piece. And it's going well. We're going to experiment a little bit more this next month with different things to see what people like.
Let's shout out some of the writers who have contributed to the blog.
Yeah, so Nina is one of them.
Nina who?
Garcia. And
where did you find her? How did you talk to me about her visibility? How did you discover her? How did you reach out?
So we were in the MFA program together at UTRGV. So I think I just had her as a friend on Facebook and then on Instagram. And so she was just like, I made it like a short list of people who I thought could contribute. Mm-hmm. And so I did see that she was already writing blogs. So that definitely put her on the map there. So
Nina, thank you so much. We really appreciate your blogs, and people are reading them. And the feedback has been great. Also, Robert Longoria, who's been a long time supporter of ours, both individually and together, and of Indie Darlings, who's even purchased some stuff. And, you know, shout out to Robert, who's just so incredible. And the other day he had a birthday, and I think he's not even 30 yet. And he was like, I'm getting old or whatever. And it's like, shut the fuck up. You're a baby and you've done so much and you haven't even hit 30 yet. So watch out, because those aches and pains, they're not going away. And of course, there's your friend Giovanna.
Yeah. I also met her in the MFA program. And there's also David, who I met in the MFA.
David Jameson.
In the MFA program. So all great writers.
Man, you just know everybody, don't you? Goddamn.
No.
You just know everybody. Yeah, and of course, you know, and more to come as far as the writing side. So the blog has been awesome. That was something, once again, for me, it's mostly video and photo. Like, that's where I come in, and podcasts. Like, that's what I can do. That's what I bring to the table. All these other things, like, really exist outside my comfort zone. So I really appreciate the amount of hours that you've put into it, and people don't see it, you know, because we don't post. I think we're still pretty private, like, online, you know, and even though the internet is like the real world, you know, we don't really post all the long hours that you put into the website. I mean, it's been thousands of hours at this point.
Yes, there was a couple of weeks, a couple months ago, where I was working, you know, the 9 to 5, and then, which I'm still doing, and then I would switch over and work on all the website stuff, and I would stop at like 9 p.m. and just go straight into bed. But that didn't mean that my brain turned off. I was still like right before I went to bed, I had to make a list of all the things I needed to do for tomorrow. So yeah, I mean, I do manage the blog stuff. I do manage the website, the shop, the Etsy shop, a little bit of the social media.
Oh yeah.
Which is the hardest thing for me.
Have we talked about the Instagram? Do you want to?
What about it?
I'm happy to just kind of put it all out there, So obviously Instagram still has some tick, it's not completely irrelevant, but we need it. We need it, and we also need it for, some of the features to link people to our website and to be visible to get people to check it out, and also shop integration, right? Like you can buy our stuff on Instagram. And speaking of buying, we bought an Instagram. It was like buying real estate and then flipping it. So we bought an Instagram that had some tick. I knew a guy who let it go for us, and then we completely renovated it. And to me, it's no different than buying advertisements, and putting ad spend together. Like it's an investment to get more visibility into your product. And I think it's great because when we reach out to people with our Instagram and they see it has, 25, 30,000 followers, people are more inclined to open their DMs and take us seriously. And I've certainly encountered a lot in my personal life. People Google us, people YouTube us, and they check it out and they want to know if we're psychopaths or if we're people that they can trust. So people checking out the Instagram is really, really cool. I follow a lot of people who don't have as many followers as us, and it's not about that. It's not about the clout, but just for the visibility and the, selling the professional side of it. I thought it was really important. And I don't know if we ever said that publicly, and it's not something that I want to hide or I'm necessarily ashamed of. It's something I had been contemplating for years. It just needed to be the right moment at the right time. And I think we got it, but I was really happy to acquire that. Felt like a real business person. Like we bought something out, kind of, and it made a lot of sense. So
it did. I think it's helped us though.
Yeah, it's good to compartmentalize and not have like pictures of our kids and our personal stuff attached to Indie Darlings. Like I don't want that just for the obscurity and the anonymity's sake, but also because that's not what we're selling,
Right.
And so we don't want to get our stream crossed. We don't want to cross our messaging, cross the wires. We want to keep it what it is. And so something I want to talk about is what Indie Darlings means and why we just call it this. It's not just a clever name. One of the first blogs that we released was, I think, written by me, and it was talking about, before Donald Glover was a household name, before he was a writer on 30 Rock, before he was an iconic television show character from, Troy from Community, and so on and so forth. He was just obscure indie darling, this person who was just making sketches for YouTube. And that to me is what it's about for creators and people who aspire to be a creator at that level. That's really what I want to shine a light on and talk about. It's never been a better time to be an independent artist, to be an indie creator. You don't have to be Drake to be successful. There is a creative middle class, and I wanted to shine a light on that, and that's where it came from. And goodness, we've been a business for about 2.5 years.
I think so. Yeah.
We were able to weather the storm during a pandemic,
it was 2019 when we started.
Yep.
Out of our little apartment.
Yeah. And here we are, and we're still doing it, and it's really, really satisfying and cool. So we have big things in mind and in store. And, Claire and I talk about it all the time. You really have to treat this business like a child. You can't phone it in. You can't be a bad dad about the business, and I certainly have been. So I want to say this out there so I can hold myself accountable and show up for the business and show up for the brand and show up for the messaging and really kind of sing the praises loud and proud. Because if this is what we're doing for a living, I mean, then we are our own bosses. That's right. That's true independence. We're not just saying it. We're practicing what we preach. We're drinking our own medicine, so to speak. And that to me is something that I think we both want,
Yeah, I think that's the goal for us, to be full-time in Indie Darlings.
Yeah.
Definitely my goal.
Absolutely. And I want to help facilitate that also as your partner,
Right.
Like, I want you to be able to do that on your own terms. You mentioned earlier you're working a 9 to 5, and I respect that, and it's great. And you were able to hold on and tie yourself to the ship during the pandemic, and it was rocky there and weird, as we all are just coming out of it. But so, and there's no shame in that, but also to create something where it is like your rocket ship, and you can just go It's your vehicle, and you can go anywhere with it. You can travel with it. You can meet new people, make new stuff on your own terms. Doesn't everybody want that?
I don't know.
I think so. I think the people listening certainly would want that. Whether if you're a musician, don't you want your band to take off and that's what you get to do full time? Or if you're an independent wrestler, like, don't you want to get signed and then pay your bills with your art money? Like that, that to me is that I always wanted to do that ever since I was a little kid. And growing up, it was always, you have to go to Los Angeles, you have to go to New York City. And it's not that way anymore, with the internet, direct to consumer platforms, like distribution is free essentially. And so there's a lot of luck involved, but there is a meritocracy component to it where those who show up and those who are making great stuff on a long enough timeline eventually get noticed. And so, that's why we're doing this. And I just want to make sure we're covering all of our bases here. We wanted to touch base with everybody listening to the podcast, everybody that's checking this out on YouTube. I greatly appreciate it. Is there anything else that you want to put in there, just for posterity and just for context, and anything that I'm missing?
I guess not. I guess the only thing is we never really said who we were or like a history for any new listeners.
Sure.
Or viewers.
Yeah, well, go ahead.
So we grew up in the Rio Grande Valley, which is like the tip of Texas, in the 956.
Down there, the border town on Mexico, like bottom of Texas.
In Donna, Texas, specifically. So we didn't know each other, but we did meet each other after high school. And then things just grew from there. We've been together 8 years now.
Mm-hmm. Got 2 kids.
2 kids and a mortgage and all that.
2 dogs.
2 dogs.
I live with my mother-in-law.
Yeah, my mom lives with us.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, she lives with us. I don't live with her. That's what I meant. Yeah, we got responsibilities.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's an abridged version, but we were both artists. We both wrote. Yeah. We both desired to be seen, I think. And I made a movie, and you were published in poetry books and all kinds of things. And I think there was a mutual respect from the beginning. No, I don't want to speak for you.
No, yeah, and I think that's one thing that I really liked about you is that you had made a movie, already knowing what writing a script was like, writing anything was like, but to actually write a script and then film it and then put a final product together, that was just like incredible to me at the time. And
yeah, Claire had really low standards.
Stop. It's a huge deal. No, it's a huge deal. And so I really liked that. And I thought like, well, you can actually get shit done. And so
emphasis on the word shit, because sometimes it's not the best final product. But yeah. No, totally. And I saw the same thing with you. I saw that you were an artist. You were going to school. You were getting shit done. You had a terrific kid, and you were a great mom. I was like, this woman has everything. So not only are we together for better or worse in everything, but also in the business, it makes sense that works too. I don't really think we argue much. Certainly not about the business. It's always just a matter of showing up and executing, like just doing it. For me. My philosophy is if you have a good idea, great. Let's implement it. Let's execute it. Otherwise, it's just an idea. That's just not cool to me. Like, let's actually get it done and make something happen. So yeah, the feeling goes. The feeling's mutual.
And I think we also started with the same goals. We had the same thing in mind. When we live in Austin now, so when we decided to move, we were also thinking the same thing, like at the same time.
Yeah.
I think so. That's been really important that we just we're moving in the same direction together.
Yeah. Almost like we love each other. Who would have thought?
Who'd have thought? Yeah. I'm
just kidding. That makes sense, and I'm glad that we were able to elaborate on that for those who are like, what even is this? What are they doing?
Who are you?
Yeah, that's for you. But for those of you who are new, please check us out, subscribe, like us. We're not going anywhere. And for those of you who have been with me and been with us through thick and thin, I really appreciate it, and thank you so much. After the pandemic hit in 2020, I really stopped making daily consistent stuff, because I didn't want it to be tarnished with like the pandemic. I wasn't going to make daily podcasts talking about that. I didn't, also everything that was going on with like the social unrest, I really just didn't think it was a time to talk. I just wanted to listen and pay attention, and I did that. And I'm still doing that, but I'm also itchy and I want to make stuff and I want to be loud and I want to be nuts and weird and crazy and be myself. And so we get to do that. And thanks for helping me and sticking with me. Not just you, but also the listeners. I really, really appreciate it. So if you haven't already, at Indie Darlings on all the things, check us out. Subscribe to our email newsletter, indiedarlings.net. More stuff is coming. This is really exciting, and I really appreciate you taking time out of your busy ass day to do this with me today.
Yes, you're welcome.
I know I was a little unprepared, but we threw this together pretty fast. I like it. She's nodding her head on the podcast.
Sorry.
I love you guys so much. Keep a force field around your heart, and we'll see you guys next time.
Bye.